Have you ever been scammed while traveling? I almost lost $40 in New York City because I misunderstood two simple English words. When you travel to a new country, everyone tells you to worry about pickpockets. They tell you to hide your passport and keep your money in your front pocket. But they don't tell you about the other kind of trap. The trap that happens right in front of your face with a friendly smile. A few years ago, I landed at JFK Airport. I was a target and I didn't even know it. 20 minutes after getting into a taxi, I realized I was about to pay almost double the normal price for my ride. My problem wasn't bad English. I knew how to order coffee. I knew how to ask for directions. My problem was that I didn't know survival English, but a single English phrase changed everything. Just 2 words saved me from being robbed. I'm going to tell you exactly what those words are. But first, you need to understand how the trap works, so you never fall for it. If you want to scam someone, you look for the tired person. And that day, I was the perfect target. I had just survived a 6-hour flight, 16 hours of sitting in a tiny economy seat. My legs were stiff. My back hurt. My brain felt like it was moving in slow motion. I didn't want to think. I just wanted a warm shower and a soft hotel bed. I dragged my heavy suitcase out of the main terminal. The cold New York air hit my face. The airport was absolute chaos. People were yelling, cars were honking, and there was a massive line of yellow taxis waiting outside. I was standing there looking at my phone, trying to figure out where to go. That's when he approached me. He didn't wait in his car like the other drivers. He walked right up to me. He had a very smooth, practiced smile. He looked completely professional. "Need a ride?" he asked. I nodded. I was too exhausted to speak. "Relax, my friend," he said, taking my heavy suitcase effortlessly. "I've got you. New York is crazy today, but you are in good hands." He opened the back door of the yellow cab. I slid in. The heater was on. It felt safe. I closed my eyes for a second, thinking the hardest part of the journey was over. I was completely wrong. I gave him the name of my hotel in Manhattan. He typed it into his GPS, but before he put the car in drive, he turned around to look at me in the back seat. "Don't worry about the meter," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "It's a flat rate." Flat rate. When I heard those 2 words, I relaxed. My shoulders dropped. If you are learning English for travel, this is a phrase you will hear a lot. Flat rate equals fixed price. It means the price does not change, whether the trip takes 30 minutes or 2 hours. Whether there is terrible traffic or a clear road, you pay exactly the same amount. It sounded incredibly professional. It sounded safe. In my tired brain, flat rate meant my budget was protected. I thought I knew exactly how much money I was going to spend. "Great," I said. He smiled, turned back to the wheel, and we pulled out onto the highway. The trap was officially set. I thought we had an agreement. I thought the price was locked, but I didn't understand the psychology of the scam. He gave me a false sense of security. For the first 10 minutes, everything was fine. I was looking out the window at the famous New York skyline. I was excited. But then, the route started to feel wrong. We exited the main highway and started driving through narrow, crowded streets. We hit every single red light. We were barely moving. That's when the driver's personality changed. The friendly, helpful guy from the airport disappeared. He started sighing loudly. He kept looking at the traffic and shaking his head. "Man, this city," he muttered, making sure I could hear him. "The traffic is unbelievable today. The worst I've seen all month." He was setting the stage. He was building an excuse. Then he looked at me through the rearview mirror. His eyes met mine. "Because of this route," he said casually, "there will be a surcharge." He said it quickly, hoping I wouldn't question it. Surcharge equals extra fee. That's it. It's an extra cost added to the original price. At first, I didn't panic. I thought, okay, maybe it's just a $2 toll for a bridge. No big deal. Everybody pays this, he added quickly. It's standard. But then he kept talking. "Yeah, and we crossed into a different zone, so there's the rush hour fee too," he mumbled. And the luggage handling fee. Luggage handling fee. He offered to take my bag. Suddenly, my heart started beating faster. The flat rate, the fixed price that made me feel so safe was a lie. The price was growing in his head, and he was preparing me for a massive bill. In New York taxis, there is a small screen in the back seat that shows the fare. For the first half of the trip, I had ignored it because he told me it was a flat rate. When he mentioned the third extra fee, I finally looked at the meter. That's when my stomach dropped. The number on the screen was already over $60, and we were still 10 blocks away from my hotel. 62, 64. I felt a cold sweat on the back of my neck. I was trapped in a moving car in a foreign country. My brain was screaming, "Say something! Tell him to stop." But if you have ever had to argue in a second language, you know how terrifying it is. When you are stressed, your vocabulary disappears. You forget your grammar. You worry about your accent. You worry that you are misunderstanding the local culture. Maybe this is normal in New York? Maybe I am just a stupid tourist? I sat there in total silence. I let the meter run. Finally, the taxi jerked to a stop in front of my hotel. The driver put the car in park. The doors were still locked. He turned around in his seat and looked at me. He didn't have that friendly smile anymore. He looked impatient. "That'll be $78, he said. $78. I froze. I had researched this before my trip. A standard ride from JFK to Manhattan should have been around $45 or $50. He was charging me almost double. He tapped his finger on the steering wheel, waiting. He thought he had won. He looked at me and saw exactly what he wanted to see. A tired, confused foreigner who would just hand over the cash to avoid a confrontation. He knew I was intimidated. He knew I wanted to escape. I slowly unzipped my bag. I reached for my wallet. I actually pulled out a $50 and a $20 bill. I was 1 second away from handing him the money and walking away feeling defeated. But as my hand touched the cash, something clicked in my brain. I remembered a video I had watched weeks ago about travel scams. I remembered one specific phrase. I stopped. I put the cash back in my lap. I took a deep breath, looked him dead in the eyes, and kept my voice completely flat. "Can I see the fare breakdown? Can I see the fare breakdown?" I didn't yell. I didn't accuse him of stealing. I just asked that one simple question. Fare breakdown equals a detailed list of all charges. When you ask for a fare breakdown, you are not just asking for the price. You are saying, "Show me the math. Print the receipt. Show me exactly how much the base rate is, how much the tax is, and prove to me that your surcharges are legal." The reaction was instant. It was like I had thrown cold water on his face. The impatient, aggressive attitude vanished. He stopped tapping the steering wheel. He looked away from me and stared down at his machine. He stammered. Let me check the system." He started pushing buttons aggressively. He muttered something about the computer making an error. He knew that if he printed a physical receipt with fake, illegal surcharges on it, I could take that paper to the police or the taxi commission and he would lose his license. A printed breakdown is proof. He didn't want to give me proof. For 10 agonizing seconds, the only sound in the car was the clicking of his machine. Then, he looked back at me. The fake smile was back, but it looked nervous this time. Sorry about that, my friend. The machine added a previous toll by mistake. My apologies. The number on the screen flashed. $78 suddenly dropped to $42. $42. $36 vanished into thin air, just because I asked him to prove his math. I didn't smile. I didn't say, "It's okay." I handed him a $50 bill, told him to keep the change as his tip, and waited for him to unlock the doors. I grabbed my suitcase, stepped out into the busy New York street, and walked into my hotel. I was physically exhausted, but mentally, I felt like a winner. That day changed the way I look at language learning forever. So many people think you need perfect, academic English to survive abroad. They spend years memorizing complex grammar rules. They obsess over having a perfect, native accent. They are terrified of opening their mouths because they might make a mistake. But out in the real world, the scammers don't care about your grammar. They care about your confidence. You don't need thousands of words to protect yourself. You just need the right words at the right time. I didn't have to argue with the driver about New York traffic laws. I didn't have to debate him. I just needed to know that a flat rate is supposed to be fixed. I needed to know that a surcharge is an extra fee they try to sneak in. And most importantly, I needed the ultimate weapon: fare breakdown. That one phrase asking for the itemized list is your shield. It works in taxis, it works in hotels when they try to charge you for things you didn't use, and it works at car rental desks when they try to add extra insurance you didn't ask for. Stop worrying about speaking perfectly. Start focusing on speaking practically. Have you ever been in a situation like this? Have you ever had to argue your way out of a scam in a foreign language? Tell me your story in the comments. I read all of them. And hit subscribe, because in the next video, I'm going to tell you how I handled a hotel clerk who tried to double charge my credit card in London. You don't want to miss that one. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.